This video is not about the traditional estate planning, wills, or setting up trusts. This video is about making sure you take some very important steps to ensure that the gold and silver you leave your loved ones is done in a way that it truly creates and protects generational wealth and is a good financial foundation for them. While this isn't a topic any of us really enjoy discussing, the reality is just like taxes, our death is inevitable, so we might as well prepare. Now, with that little bit of morbidity out of the way, a strong majority of us stackers gladly share that we will never sell. Instead, we talk about leaving our gold and our silver and other precious metals to our family, children, or loved ones. So let's just actually talk about it. While leaving your gold and silver or other precious metals to loved ones is a great plan, and it sounds actually very easy, it can quickly become far more complicated if we don't ask ourselves some very important questions and take some very critical steps. For example, have you asked yourself, are my loved ones ready and prepared to receive it? Do they know the real value of your metals? Do they know what to do with it? Unfortunately, it's not as simple as stack for your lifetime and then leave it to your loved ones and poof, all of a sudden they magically know what they have or what to do with it. If your loved ones are anything like my loved ones, all they know is that my gold and silver collection is valuable, and they probably couldn't tell you the difference between an eagle and a buffalo. Even if you're lucky enough to have loved ones that know the value, sadly, that doesn't mean that you're in the clear. We all have heard horror stories of crazy family fights over material things. At the time, they should be focusing on mourning and celebrating your life. So let's get to 7 critical steps that you need to take today to make sure your gold and silver is transferred as you like. Before we jump into the deep end, please know that you absolutely need to consult with an estate planning lawyer and just use these steps to help inform that conversation, as I am not qualified to give you any advice. I can only share with you what I've done. For all intents and purposes, I actually want you to think about the first 2 steps as kind of my PSA for doing things the right way, and then we'll dig a little deeper. So let's start with number 1. Protect your anonymity with a trust and a will. Now, I can hear many of you moaning right now, and you're seconds from changing videos, but hear me out. One of the greatest benefits to precious metal ownership is that no one knows if, what, or how much you have. So theoretically, you don't need to take this step, and it may feel unnecessary. But this isn't theory, this is real life. And in the next point, I'm going to go even deeper into why the trust and will is so important. So stick with me. Don't believe the hype. You do not need to be rich to have a trust, and everyone should probably have one. Nothing destroys wealth like probate. There are 2 items that will protect your anonymity and keep your family out of probate court, not only fighting over your metals, but any of your other possessions. Probate is often discussed like a big, scary, lengthy, expensive process, because it is. And you want to avoid probate at all costs. This leads me to the second point, which is why a trust and will is so important. Family can do crazy things during the grieving process. And the last thing you want is a stupid fight over who's going to get your whatever it is in your stack. Let's just say, for example, one night you're having drinks with your little nephew and you make an offhand comment about him having all your pre-33 gold. And now that you passed, he wants to collect. But none of your kids know if this was true or if you even really meant it. A trust and a will prevent an issue like this. Unfortunately, some of you are thinking, well, I would just leave a will with my family and that would prevent this, and nephew Nick would just have to deal with it. Well, that works in theory until nephew Nick decides that you really meant for him to have these coins, and he either decides to take them or he decides to take the family to court. And all of a sudden, your family is now in probate hell because metals are considered tangible property, and the courts would have to decide who gets to keep the coins. These 2 are really important steps. I know we think as precious metal people, we don't need to do these things. This is a great way to do things outside of probate and trust. But unless you're dealing with a really large estate, you're fine. Set up the trust, set up the will by talking to your professional. Which then leads us to step number 3. Now that we've gotten those first 2 steps out of the way, here's what you can do. Keep a log. Yep, you already know it. Here comes a shameless plug, folks. But in my This Is Why Your Stack Isn't Bigger video, I go into great detail about the importance of logging all your purchases. And you really need to watch that video, and I'll link to it at the end. The log is going to give your loved ones very important information about what you have, how much you pay for it, and any notes that you may keep in there, which is especially important when it comes to like numismatic or special coins. This is a great first step for them. But make sure another trusted person has your most recent copy. So if you have updated it 6 months ago and you've added to your stack, make sure you update it, send it to a trusted friend, a loved one, someone you know that is going to do the right thing no matter what. The fifth step is list where it is. If you've engaged in midnight gardening in the backyard, hiding metals in the wall, furniture, food containers, or if you've had any of those unfortunate boating accidents like I have, make sure your loved ones know about these locations. Just last month, there was a great story about a man finding hidden treasure in his grandparents' farmhouse. And here is a little clip of the news article. But just think, what if that house had been sold outside the family? How much money could have been lost and was actually, in effect, lost until this young man found it? So make sure your people know exactly where it is. The sixth step, leave selling instructions. If your loved ones do decide to liquidate, do they know who your LCS is or where to sell it? Do they know how to look up spot price and how that influences the value of metals? Do they know that coins should be priced more expensive than rounds? That pre-33 or numismatics are more valuable? Do they know about the Red Book and that they can look up coin values there? Do they know that they can find an appraiser to help them? Leave instructions so that your folks know what to do. It's great if we can be having these conversations along the way, and ideally your loved ones will remember these conversations. You've spent your lifetime stacking and building this. It's so imperative that we make sure they understand what they're getting and they know what to do with it. Not to mention, if you leave selling instructions, you can also say to them, I will haunt you from your grave if you sell this for a new car or if you do X, Y, and Z. And so it's a great way also to let them know how you expect them to use it, understanding that it is theirs. 7 is give it away while you're alive. And what I mean by this is at some point, you'll get to an age and you know you're never actually going to dip into your stack and you're never going to sell it. So it's just kind of sitting there. Why not start giving it away to your loved ones while you're alive? You get to see the joy in their face. You then get to have conversations with them about these coins and if they mean anything special to you. And you may even start your loved ones down the path of stacking if they haven't already started themselves. And if you're going to start them out on the path of stacking, you might as well let them know that they should join Stackers University because it is a great place for them to learn, get good information, become a better investor in precious metals. So make sure you've hit the subscribe button and leave instructions for them to do the same. In fact, go ahead and tell them to subscribe today. Who cares? They can start now. I know that was a nice little shameless plug, right, folks? All right, never mind. Here's the reality. Our physical metals, they are wonderful and they are a practical and effective way to transfer wealth to our loved ones, especially outside of the banking system, outside of the prying eyes of the government. And while it seems straightforward, there are a number of things we do need to do in order to make sure our years of stacking weren't done in vain, to ensure our loved ones receive what we intend for them, know what to do with this wealth that you've accumulated and passed on to them. While this can be done in private and doesn't need to be registered or transferred, I hope you can see now that a little work can prevent a lot of confusion, mistakes, and potential family drama. Again, you really need to speak to a professional, but make sure you cover these steps when you meet with them as kind of additional insurance and topics to cover, so to speak, because you want your items distributed the way you intended. And you definitely do not want your family wasting time, wasting money in court, or simply fighting with one another over material things when they really should be focused on mourning and loving each other. In the comment section, share if this video changed your mind about how you're going to leave your medals to your loved ones. Indicate which step was maybe most helpful, and then let me know if I missed anything. You are my A+ students for seeing this video all the way through, and I want you, as a bonus, to tell the person or people you're leaving your medals to, tell them you love them today. If you need help or a sample log sheet, check out this video where you can learn more about my log and why it's important, and you can even download a copy of a sample log. You know how we end things around here, folks. Always stack smarter and never stop learning.